All right. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? How are y'all? Good, 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 good. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right. Today's announcements. Let's get into it. We got some good ones today. Again, dang, 1 month old today. Yeesh. Dang, that was fast. Hannah and Jacob had the baby 1 month ago, and they are, they're not requesting food, but we have a meal train going for them so they don't have to worry about making dinner. So, as Jenny just said, there are a lot of days open. I think it's only through the end of May, so we only have this week. This week and next week. So sign up, take them something, buy them something. Hook them up. Let's do that. You got it, Keisha? Yeah. Cool. I had it, but I just stayed. Yeah. All right, if you are not aware, you've been living under a rock, just like I do most of my life. Except for the Kendrick Drake beef, but outside of that, yes, 2 weeks in a row I'm talking about Kendrick and Drake still. It's a whole thing. Anyway, Oasis will be closing in September. We officially, including today, have 8 Sundays left in this building together. I gave a quick rundown of what's to come last week. We got 8 Sundays in the building. Between now and September, I am simultaneously very excited and very sad all at the same time for what September will hold. So yeah, that is that. All the details though, as we keep going, all the details are at jesusistight.com. So if you go to our website, it's just one page, has a little blurb about the church and then the schedule for the rest of the summer. So if at any time you're like, man, what are we doing? Or when is that? Or whatever, just go to jesusistight.com and scroll down. It's right there. All right, next week is our Memorial Day weekend picnic. It will be at Hillcrest Park from 10 a.m. to 12:30. As of right now, there is no specific location of where the picnic will be. And we are also waiting for the sign-up sheet to be prepared to be sent out to everybody for next week. So keep your eyes and ears open for that information, where specifically we will be next Sunday, 10 o'clock at Hillcrest. It's like, yeah, Hillcrest is great, but that's a big park. Where y'all at, you know? So that info is coming through text message this week. Yeah, sign up sheets for food, all the stuff. Keep your eyes and ears open. And that'll be coming to you. This is the last time I think we will talk about softball on a Sunday morning as far as recruiting goes. If you play softball, want to play softball, and you a dog, as they say, that's what they say in the sports world. He a dog, you know. Me, first base, I'm a dog. That's what I do. Catch it, boom, bow, every time. Good reach, you know, good digs. That's what I'm about. Anyway, if you want to play, text softball to the church number. We will be having a team meeting on Tuesday at 5:30 here at the church to go over new rules and when the season starts, yada, 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 all that stuff. Monday nights, June 3rd is our first game. So all those details are coming, but if you want to play, text softball. Somebody just commented?
No, this next slide.
Oh, yeah, the next slide. What? Anyway, if you'd like to play softball, text softball to the church number. If you just want to come hang out, all of those details are coming. All right. We are getting tattoos. I know. Did you ever think you'd be in a church and the pastor be like, hey, group tattoos at the end of the summer? No, I never thought I would say that. That's crazy. But here we are, living our best lives in Jesus. So here's the deal. Yeah, because the church is closing. And I was just like, dang, would I get a tattoo? I was like, I think I would. I think I would get the Oasis O, the logo, not the words, but just like the symbol. I was like, I'd get it. You know, I'd get an Oasis tattoo. And then I started asking, and people were like, yeah, I would get an Oasis tattoo. So I was like, well, here's the deal. Let me just throw this out there to everybody, see if they want to do it. So if you want to get an Oasis logo tattoo, just the circle, if you want to get that, text tattoo to the church number, and we'll have a group there. And then as we finalize who really wants to do it, we'll get with Brandon Hunter, who did my Thug Life tattoo. Thug Life, John 15:16. That's where Jesus says, you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to bear good fruit. And I was like, dang, Jesus is the original Thug Life. Like, we didn't choose him, he chose us. How crazy is that? Jesus, Yeah, his studio is right across the street. Yeah, literally right across the street. So, yeah, like right there. Yeah, he's good. You can look at this later if you want. The detail on these leaves and these grapes, wild. So he did this one, my Thug Life tattoo. So we're gonna get with Brandon. If you want to get an Oasis logo tattoo, please text tattoo to the church number. That is 2 T's, 2 O's. Yeah, that's wild. I just said that out loud at church as an announcement. wild, huh?
Trying to figure out where I want to get
I know. This is going to be crazy. I don't know yet. I think I might get on my bicep, get as big as I can. Then my bicep look big all the time. Just all about. Like my forearm looks huge because I got this big old tattoo. So it's all about perception. So dang, Valerie already taking pictures. She ready. Valerie gonna get a tattoo. All right. Yeah. Yeesh. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. One session. Get in, get out, be done. All right. If you are not receiving text messages from Oasis, please text T to 575-222-8985, and you will get all of the information that we send out all the time. Any questions about any of those things before we jump into this sermon? Cool. All right. Faithful to the end. Yeah, let's just unpack it. Let's go. So, this is officially our final sermon series at Oasis. Over the next 8 Sundays that we are together, to include our last Sunday in the park. Our last Sunday in the park, we have 8 sermons left. And I wanted to, without being overly dramatic, it was what would be the last things that I would want to say to Oasis as a pastor? If these were the final things that I said, what would they be? And so me and my personal assistant, ChatGPT, we got together. We threw some ideas around. Well, I really threw the ideas around. They ordered them out for me. And I was like, yes, this is what I'm looking for. So we built this series, and we're just going to cover just not basic Christianity things, but looking at where we go from here with Oasis closing, with the church that I go to after this. What tools do I need in my bag for what is next? And that is the aim of this series, to one, close out a chapter while also preparing everyone for the next chapter. That makes sense? So, that is the idea of this final series. And so today we are covering worship. We are talking about worship. So my question to you is, what is worship? What does it look like to you? What do you think? When you think worship, what comes to your mind? Music.
Not just music, though, just being with God, praising Him, praying.
Yeah. Attitude, being with God, music, all the things. Yes, these are all things that worship has become. I absolutely love worship and all it entails. There's a book over there. I don't know if we have any more copies left, but How to Worship a King is a stellar book to read on worship. Oasis was built on, how we model our service was built on his explanation of worship in this book. That's why we have a holy place and all that stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit, but worship is a lot. It is. So when we look at a couple of spots in the New Testament, one, in John chapter 4, verses 23 and 24, Jesus says, "But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. And then Romans 12, verses 1 and 2 says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So, in these two scriptures, we kind of fine-tune a little bit more of what worship is. So, for the most part, we cut out like the idea that it is a service or that is just music. And just on that, it's a little deeper than what we know. That makes sense? So, again, though, these scriptures don't specifically tell us what worship is. It does not tell us what it looks like in everyday life. And so the word itself means to bow down or to lay down flat in front of something. And so to bow down or to lay flat in a humble manner is how it directly translates. So when you look at Abraham, I think the first time we see it in the Bible altogether is Abraham going to, I think it's to give Melchizedek his offering. But it says he bowed down and he worshiped. And literally when you go and you look at this word worship, it says to bow down. So it's like he bowed down and bowed down, which is like, that's weird. But we get the idea. To humble yourself before something because it is bigger than you and you are paying some sort of homage to it. That makes sense? So to get it to what it looks like in my everyday life, like what can I do with this today? How can I live a life of worship? We have to look back at the tabernacle in Exodus. We're not going to go to Exodus and the scripture because it's like 8 chapters to read, so it's a whole lot. But the tabernacle itself shows us and gives us the process of worship. Worship is a daily process. It is a moment by moment process that I live. And thankfully, God gave the Israelites this big old thing. So the tabernacle was given to Israel to teach them how to worship. And the entire point of the whole process was to meet with God, to meet with the Father, to be face to face with him, to spend time with him. And this is what it looked like. So beginning at the bottom, we have the gate. Earlier we read, enter his gates with thanksgiving and enter his courts with praise. Literally, when David writes that, this is what he is talking about, the gate. As we enter this process of worship, we have to come in with a thankful heart. We'll get into that in a little bit. After that, you have the altar of sacrifice. This is where all of the animals were burned up, all the fat, the meat, the skin, everything that they needed to give a sacrifice of praise, of worship, of thankfulness, to pay for their sin offering. All of these things came and happened at the altar of sacrifice, where they literally burned it all up to ashes. After that, you have the laver, where they would wash their faces. The priest would wash their hands, wash their faces. And yeah, we'll break down all of this in a little bit. All of this, though, was to prepare them for the holy place. What? We do that at our church. I know, it's on purpose. So this part right here is the holy place. And in the holy place, you have the table of showbread and the golden lampstand. and then the altar of incense. So, table of showbread has bread and wine on it. What? That's crazy. That sounds a lot like communion. Yes, Lord's Supper. Bread and wine on the table. Communion. We'll get into why. Then you have the golden lampstand. 9 different cups of oil, olive oil specifically, that had wicks in them that they burned. So one, they could have light, but the meaning behind it is massive, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Then you have the golden altar of incense, where the high priest, when he was preparing to go behind the veil, which is this curtain right here, that mug was thick. You couldn't see through it. Not a sheet. Curtains sewn together. One time, my grandmother gave us these like wool blankets, which Californians are wild. I'm like thinking about that. I'm like, dang, you gave us wool blankets. It never gets that cold. Also, we have a heater in our house that blows in all the rooms. Like, what do I need a wool blanket for? Anyway, wool blanket, that mug was thick. You couldn't see through that. So essentially, they had like 8 wool blankets sewn together to make the veil. So anytime the high priest once a year would go behind the veil, he needed to have enough incense smoke to protect him from God's face when he would go into the Holy of Holies. Y'all tracking? Y'all going with me? So he had to have enough smoke. God wanted all the smoke. I love language. God wanted all the smoke, because even if you follow this entire process, you still cannot meet with God without protection. That's crazy. So they needed enough smoke to fill the Holy of Holies, so when they walked in and they sprinkled blood on the Ark of the Covenant, where's my pointer? On the Ark of the Covenant itself, literally, God's presence, he would come and he would sit, and it had to be so smoky in there that they could not see his face, because they would still die. So much so, they would like wear a robe that had bells on it, and they'd tie a rope to him just in case. Like, just in case this dude did not walk the actual process when he encountered God, that he died instantly, they had to take precaution, because they couldn't just walk in there and get him either. That's a whole thing. That's wild. So, this is the process. And in the book of Hebrews, there's a scripture that says that there is a process of worship that is happening in heaven that casts a shadow down to earth in how to get to the Father. This is a shadow of what is happening in heaven all the time. And it says that this is the shadow of what's taking place. So we're going to break all these down and show you how to worship every day in your life. Number 1, Thanksgiving. I just want to let y'all know that my notes only say, talk about it, bro. So here we go. So Thanksgiving, that's all my notes say. So I'm not even going to stand here, because I'm in my bag now, officially. Thanksgiving, again, beginning with the gate. This is a process. Remember, this is a process that I am trying to incorporate into my life all the time. So when the verse says, like we just said, enter his gates with thanksgiving and enter his courts with praise, my access to the Father has to start with thankfulness. You cannot approach to actually meet him without having gratitude in your heart. Why do we sing songs that thank God and talk about how amazing he is? Because it is a different mindset when I sit down to now listen to a sermon. That makes sense? Legitimately, if you only listen to the Kendrick and Drake beef and now sat down to listen to a sermon, your mind is in a much different place and you can't even receive what's coming. So a song like Indescribable, where over and over and over, you are amazing, God, as she talks about the expanse of the universe, all the way down to every creature singing its own specific, unique song. On purpose, it puts you in a place where, man, you are way bigger than I could ever imagine. You are way powerful. You know way more. You know what? Yes, I will gladly give up everything that I actually want for whatever you got, because I am just thankful for everything that you've done and everything that you are. That makes sense? Again, and I need you to follow this thread of the process. The process changes me. Worship changes me. It's not something that I can necessarily offer to God. It changes me. And we'll see that as we walk through this process. But thankfulness is the first thing that I need. I need to show up with thanksgiving. Thank you, God, for this. Off top. Thank you, God, for this. So again, when I move from thanksgiving to sacrifice, well, what am I sacrificing? I'm sacrificing what I want, when I want it, how I want it, what I think, what I want to say, what I want to do, my plan, my goals, yada, 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 so on and so forth. That is what I'm sacrificing. But we tend to jump to sacrifice without thanksgiving, and then sacrifice tends to be way harder. You don't want to sacrifice someone for, or you don't want to sacrifice something to someone who's ungrateful. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be honest. Why would I take my time to do something for you? Why would I cut out what I want for me when you never say thank you? And further, you can't give me anything in return. There's nothing that you can give me if I do this for you. I don't want it. I'm not sacrificing me for trash. No, thank you. I'll pass. And so we look at this process and we go, oh, well, yeah, I'll skip the gate and I'll just give God, I'll show up to church. I'll show up. Yeah. I'll show up. It's fine. It's cool. And then I'm wondering why I'm trying to go from the altar of sacrifice right into the Holy of Holies. I'm bulldozing my way through the process, and then I'm like, man, I'm just not hearing from God. But a life of worship, if I can first come into the court with thanksgiving, that changes the whole game. Because if I can literally think about the details of God imagining the sun and then putting it in place, and then hiding it so nighttime can happen, what? That is amazing. They list all those things in that song and then say, you've seen the depths of my heart and you love me the same. That's crazy. You see every wild thing that I have ever thought, and you still love me like it never happened. Thank you. And it is that peace of thanksgiving that now makes me say, yeah, man, the least I could do is sacrifice me. That's the least I could do. The least I could do is okay, in this situation, I could give up what I want because you really know what you're doing. And I know that you know what you're doing because I've spent time thanking you for all of the things that you've done and how great you really are. So when it comes time to sacrifice, when it comes time to give up a part of me, that is way easier because I'm giving this thing up to someone who actually deserves it. That makes sense? So in the book, How to Worship a King, he talks about putting all of the things, and he says he teaches a class where he has everybody bring an item that they like really care about, you know? And he says, and this is all sorts of stuff. It's like, you know, hairbrushes, makeup, clothes at the time, DVDs, like all these things. And he puts them all on the table and he goes, this is sacrifice. We put it on the table. Yes, it is yours, Lord. And then he flips the table. And he says, I flipped that thing with everything I have. Stuff goes flying. Woo. And I set the table back up, nothing on it. And he goes, this is holiness. This is holiness, a clean slate for the Father to do what he wants to do. And how that happens is by me washing in the Word. This process builds on itself. I come to Jesus with thanksgiving. I sacrifice what I want. I offer it up to him. And then the Word cleans it all away. That makes sense? So when I study and I read, again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, abiding in the Word is going to change me. Abiding in the Word is going to change who I am. It's going to change me straight up. So if I spend majority of my time doing other things, which you're going to because you got to live life, but if I'm not actively doing this, studying and really trying to see how to be more like Jesus and the character of the Father, nothing changes in me. And so I sacrifice what I want to then sit down and go, oh, okay, present my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God. You don't have to break this whole thing down and get all into the words and which word is it and the definitions. No. It literally just becomes, okay, well, how do I do that today? What does that look like? What happens when I do get upset? How do I respond? What happens when this happens and I didn't want it to happen? How will I respond? What happens when I get hurt and I'm sad? How do I respond? All of these things are taken care of by being washed in the Word. And again, if I can sacrifice the thing and put it on the table, washing it will it will wash it away. Studying the Word will wash away the thing that I am sacrificing. That makes sense? And all of that now prepares me for the holy place. I can now enter the holy place where it is now more intimate. It's quiet. Look at that outer court, man. People are out here, they got sheep, they got bulls, they got birds. It's hot, it's rainy, it's smelly, it's cold, whatever it is, you're just dealing with all of that outside. Blood everywhere, animals dying. That's crazy to hear animals scream and then like blood just gurgles to kill it. And so when you do all of this process that's messy and gross and all these things I don't want to deal with and don't want to do, what does it prepare me for? It prepares me for intimacy. It prepares me for real relationship. And so when we walk in and the table of showbread is there, now I have this bread and this wine. I have this communion with Jesus. I get to sit down and I get to be with him and I get to spend time with him. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for what you've done for me. Thank you so much. As I partake in the gift of his body and I partake in the gift of his redemptive blood, This is a part of the process that I get to just enjoy. Thank you for being my friend, Jesus. And to the left of that, because now these are the two things that are side by side, I get to go and be with Jesus, and he teaches me how to live and teaches me how to do, only to come around to the lampstand that represents the Holy Spirit. So now I have the fruit of the Spirit being produced in me and the gifts of the Spirit that are being given to me. Now, this is not an exclusive thing of like, hey, if you don't have a gift of the Spirit, or, you're just not spending time with Jesus enough. I'm not saying that. But I am saying at the least, the fruit should be produced if you're following this process, 100%. Fruit is fruit. Gift is a gift. A gift is given as needed, or when the giver wants to give a gift. But the fruit will be produced come hell or high water if you are doing this process, straight up. So I spend time with Jesus. I come back. The fruit is being produced in me, and I come back to Jesus. This is crazy. It worked. What you said actually worked. It's Trey, short swinging that bat. The other night, he just let his bat go. He swung and let go right here. Boom. Hold on to the bat and swing all the way through. Next time at bat, bow. Hit that ball to second base. It worked, Dad. It worked. Your advice worked. Yes, because I know what I'm talking about. And if I'm following this process, the fruit is going to be produced. I'm going to see a gift that is unlike me and not inside me. I get to spend time with Jesus. And then finally, I get to the altar of incense, which is prayer. Intercessory prayer at that. Prayer on behalf of someone else. Prayer on behalf of other people. He says in the book that Jesus exemplifies the altar of incense the most in his life when he is dying on the cross. The point of Jesus dying on the cross was for us to come back into relationship with the Father. So he says in the moment that Jesus is dying and he says, "It is finished, Father, I commit my spirit to you," and he breathes his last breath, all the things happen. The earth shakes, it gets dark, nature actually mourns, yeesh, and the veil, the 8-layered wool blanket, is split, bottom to top. He says in the greatest act of intercessory prayer, Jesus takes the hand of the Father and he takes the hand of us, all humanity, and he brings them together. He provides enough smoke for us to now encounter the Father face to face. That's wild. It's beautiful. So me living this life of worship, I'm walking this process, thanksgiving and sacrifice, being washed in the Word. I'm spending time with Jesus. The fruit of the Spirit is now produced in me. Naturally, what do I look for? How to give this fruit away. Lord, I pray for Keisha. This, and this. Because I'm taken care of through all of this. I'm a different person. So I'm no longer praying for me at this point, because I put me on the altar a long time ago. I sacrificed me a long time ago. And now I'm in a place where it's just me, Jesus, fruit, gifts, What else am I going to pray for? Because I'm at the top now. Lord, Mary said this week. I pray for this. On her behalf, I want to bring this to you. I want to provide enough smoke for her to see you. I want to provide enough incense, Lord, that Bert this week can get to you. That's wild. And when this happens, when I do this, I now encounter the Father. I see him everywhere. I see him in every situation. I see him all the time. I feel his presence actively with me, and I feel it when he's not active. There's just this calm peace. That's what happens. That is what happens. I encounter the Father all the time. Because there's nothing else to do in my life if I walk this process how it's supposed to be walked. I have taken care of me well outside of it, so now I can come in and really see the Father. I can really do this love God, love others thing now. That all makes sense? So this is worship. This is what worship is. It is a process that I walk. It is a process that I partake in. Committing myself back to Jesus, committing myself back to this wonderful relationship with the Father. That is what worship is. So when it comes to music, music only helps me get into the process. A worship service only helps me get into the process. The reason that we do it the way we do at Oasis is because I said, if you don't do anything else all week, you are going to meet Jesus today. If you show up at Oasis, you're going to have 3 to 5 minutes where it's nothing but music playing, and you got to deal with you and Jesus right now. I force the issue every single Sunday that we have had service at Oasis. You are going to sit here quietly and talk to Jesus. If you don't do it at any other point in your life during the week, if you show up here, that's what's going to happen. To help us encounter the Father. At some point in time, this word worship was actually called worthship. And it took on the meaning of giving value to something to be praised to the point of going above and beyond myself for this thing. I wanted this, I gave so much value to this thing that I was willing to change my life for it. I was willing to lay down my life for this thing. Worthship. So the question becomes, is the Father worth me walking this process? Is the Father worth me walking this process? So when Jesus says in John, true worshipers will worship in spirit and in truth, and then Paul says, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable worship, these make a lot more sense now. It makes a lot more sense because to be a true worshiper that worships in spirit and truth, none of this stuff is physical. None of it is physical. It actually happens inside of me. I'm walking a path of thanksgiving and sacrifice and being washed in the Word and spending time with Jesus and using and allowing the fruit to grow in me and interceding for other people. You can't intercede for other people if you haven't done all the other things. So when it says that true worshipers worship in spirit and in truth, well, I'm only going to get to the in spirit and in truth part doing this. He says, this is your reasonable service. It's the reasonable thing to do. Reasonable. Guys, we all know and understand. If somebody was like, yeah, it's reasonable, like, I'll take it. It's the reasonable thing to do. It's not above and beyond. It's not a lot. No, that's like I guess. I guess I'll take it. It's the reasonable thing to do. Like the basic thing that you can do in this relationship is offer the process of worship. It's the reasonable thing. Yeah. I wrote, it's becoming a living sacrifice, or becoming a living sacrifice is a reasonable act of worship because I am getting out of the way so Jesus can make me something that I was always meant to be. This only benefits me, which is wild. It only benefits me and the people around me. God doesn't need me to do this. But if I want everything that he's offering, I have to walk this path. And as I walk this path, I become a way better version of myself. Every single day. A couple weeks ago, I said that we as Americans, we take all this stuff as like rules or another thing to do. Hey, worship, you know. And it's like, no. All of this is nothing more than invitation. All of it is nothing more than invitation to be with the Father. That's all it is. We look at it and go, man, I got to do that now. I got to do that now. And if that's my first thought, the question really is, do I think the Father is worth it? Do I really think that he is worth me sacrificing? And as somebody who is trying to do it legitimately, 100%, he is worth it every single time. Every single time. The worst thing that has ever happened to me, I was tired. And he said, well, go to bed early. And then I didn't. So then I was like, well, last time I did it, I didn't even sleep good. Like, well, that one was on you because you could have been in the bed at 8 o'clock. Don't put that on me. You could have gone to sleep. Well, nah, don't put that on Jesus. Is the Father worth it? Is he worth my process walking? There's nothing but good that comes from this. Nothing but good. So as we go into this last 3 months, as we specifically go into the holy place, as we go into our weeks, am I living a life of worship? Do I want to live a life of worship? What part am I missing in a life of worship? We all want to encounter God and we all want to be and hear from him. Just had a conversation yesterday. A friend, he's going through all this stuff. I said, hey, you want to do coaching? I'll coach you. Your life will be different in 12 weeks, man. Less than. And he said the thing that we always say, I just need to realign. I just need to get back to God. I just waiting for him to tell me what the next step is. And so we're expecting to go right into the holy place and spend time with Jesus and have fruit produced. But I won't sacrifice my evening, morning routine to just go walk. I won't sacrifice my evening, morning routine to like get good sleep. I won't sacrifice my eating habit to feel better. Like everything becomes an act of worship when I just submit myself to the process. I want fruit and gifts, but I'm not thankful for anything. Nobody wants to buy somebody a gift who isn't thankful. No. I really think that's why parents just like we like, nah, you ain't getting nothing, man. Nope. I want that. Nah, you greedy. You greedy. I don't want to give you something when there's no thankfulness. And we're waiting on God all the time. We're waiting on him. We're waiting on him to tell us. We're waiting on him to show us. We're waiting on him to do.
You can't be aware of what you have if you are not at the root, like looking to be like grateful for.
Right.
So like you can't even get to the fruits of the Spirit.
Correct.
You are still just stopping at woe is me.
Correct.
So like you have to have a heart shift
Yes.
to even begin this process with the Lord.
And that is what worship is. It is a heart-shifting process. Show Baraka. I love this line so much. He said, "Forgive us, Lord, because we want love without truth. The world is spiritually poor. We want heaven without you. It's malpractice. We want healing without patience. We don't want heart transplants. We want facelifts." And that legitimately is what is happening.
Who said that?
Show Baraka, he's a Christian rapper. And I know it hit when Cheryl was like, what? Who said that? Yeah, who's cool now, Cheryl? Exactly. I'll send it to you. But it's true. It is a heart-shifting process. And we stand outside the gate. We stand outside the gate saying, well, I just need to see him. I just need to talk to him. I just need him to tell me what to do. Take my sacrifice. If we even have one. If we even have one. Because most of the time we want to keep the attitude we have and just get the next order of business.
We're very entitled.
Yeah, we are entitled. We're Americans. Started with the Boston Tea Party. It's in all of us now. We all like, give me liberty, give me death. It's like Jesus is actually like, okay, we'll die. And we're like, well, give me liberty. We change up real quick, man. We change up real quick. And so if I really want to tap into what the Father is offering and this encounter with him, I have to present myself as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable, because that's the reasonable worship. I can only access the Father when I access in spirit and in truth. So if I am not actively worshiping, what am I doing? And I just love this visual of standing outside of the gate and we're walking around the outside, trying to yell into the holy place where it's so quiet in there, Jesus, Jesus. And we just won't walk the process. So a life of worship, one, is the Father worth it? But I only know that he's worth it if I am waking up and legitimately being thankful. This is my last story. I'm going to close. Some comedian saw him on Instagram in Reels, and he was like, yeah. So I started seeing a therapist and was telling her just all my issues, all my problems, yada, 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 all the stuff. I think I'm depressed, And he's like, the therapist told me to start writing a gratitude list. And he said, the crazy thing is, one, I hate it because it worked. Just like telling my brain that I had things to be happy about actually made me better. And I was like, it's so true. It's so true. If I legitimately wake up, and I dare you to do that this week, I dare you to wake up. And in that first hour, because I'm not going to say sit there in the bed or like stop, like no. In that first hour, just thank God for all the things. Random things, whatever pops up, thank you. Thank you for my crazy dad. He be saying some crazy stuff, and I don't know where it come from, and sometimes it make me mad, but thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you for this job that I don't want to go to. Thank you that I only have to be there for like 4 hours. Thank you that I have people who don't make me do my job when I'm at my job, that they allow me to do other things and handle other business. Thank you. Thank you for my kids who every time I clean up this house, dirty it within 5 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. It changes everything. It opens you up to walk the path. It really does. So that is the challenge, not to walk the entire process and study the book of Jonah this week. No. Simple shifts, baby. Simple shift. Just wake up and be thankful and see what happens. Just wake up and be thankful, and let's see where the process takes us. That all makes sense? Worship as a whole, what it looks like, worship in everyday life. Yeah? Any questions? All right, that's part one. We're going to go into the Holy